Thank you, gentlemen. I've been on this committee for almost 11 years now, and we've had a number of general counsel nominees come in front of it, and the questions often turn into very grave, somber concerns that the nominee will have the courage to stand up and say no when his bosses want to violate the law. I think this approach is wrong-headed on a couple of counts. First, it goes without saying that any lawyer should tell their clients if they're prepared to take an action that is against the law. But the first count is that, in my experience on 11 years, the much more likely scenario in which the Office of General Counsel faces pressure is to distort their legal judgment to provide a shield to decision makers who don't want to make tough decisions. So rather than having a chief of station or high-ranking director of operations officer, or even the CIA director, come to you and press you to bless something that would be illegal, more likely to try to get your office to say, no, something is out of bounds, when in fact it is in bounds, and that's just the decision that those decision makers care not to make. So you said in your opening statement, Mr. Simmons, that you would get clear advice and counsel any decision maker when something is against the law. I assume the opposite is true as well. If you are pressed to say something is against the law, when in reality it's perfectly legal, will you give that clear opinion that in your legal judgment the action is legal and it's something the decision maker is going to have to decide for himself?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I think Director Radcliffe said it well when he was here, that he would follow the law as far as it goes and no further. And one of the key distinctions here is between law and policy. And I think if confirmed as General Counsel, my obligation would be to provide legal advice. What are the legal authorizations and limits? And then that equips the policymakers to make the important decisions they need to make for our national security.
And those are decisions that they make as the policymakers that a general counsel does not make as the legal advisor.
That's correct, Chairman.
Thank you. So that's the first count I think that approach is wrong on. The second count is that the premise of the question usually is that there's rogue, nefarious actors throughout the agency, maybe up to and including the director and the president himself, that's always trying to break the law in some kind of dastardly way. In reality, clients go to their lawyers every day in America thinking about doing something that turns out to be a violation of the law. An Arkansas farmer could want to build a fence on what he thinks is his property line. He goes to the lawyer, and the lawyer says, actually, that's a county right-of-way. You can't build the fence there. Or a corporate executive may be planning to go on Squawk Box on CNBC and say a bunch of stuff about the stock of his company, and the general counsel has to say, actually, sir, that would be a violation of the securities law. Or a union chief in negotiations might be prepared to take certain actions, and the union general counsel has to say, actually, that would violate federal labor law. And yes, maybe even a chief of station or a CIA director or the president himself might think, we want to do this, or could we take this action? And the general counsel says, no, that would not be in accordance with law. When there's no nefarious purpose at all, it's simply you're advising clients who by and large are not lawyers. That's why our country has lawyers, is to advise laymen about what the law says. In each of those cases, though, you would expect your lawyer to understand your objectives and try to work towards them, towards a solution that accomplishes the client's objectives, but is consistent with law. Whether you're the Arkansas farmer or the corporate executive or the union boss, or yes, even the CIA director. So, Mr. Simmons, can we count on you whenever you're giving your plain and unvarnished advice about what is and is not on the right side of the law to also work with all of your clients at the agency and across the executive branch to help them get to yes, to achieve their objectives in a manner that is consistent with law?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, throughout my legal career, I've maintained that type of open dialogue. I think it's important to have a relationship of trust with a client so that they can speak freely about what their objectives are and so that they can receive honest and clear counsel about what the law requires. And if confirmed, that would be my approach.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chairman.